If you've got a bolster, grab that. If not, you can use pillows for this. We are going to start lying on our backs. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can lie in child's pose instead. So when you're ready, come to lie down on your back. And if you've got pillows or bolsters handy, let your legs lay on top of them so that you've got a wee lift in the knees. And what this does is it brings just an extra bit of support to your lower spine, because when your back or when your legs are totally flat, your lower back arches slightly more. So you might even want to test that out just to check it. When your legs are straight, your lumbar spine is a little more raised from the floor. And when your legs are bent, your lumbar flattens out and smooths. And from here, let your hands rest down by the sides of your body, palms facing upwards. Draw your shoulder blades together and close down your eyes. We'll begin this class with a nice long body scan. Depending on your frame of mind, you might feel really focused in this scan. You might find that you are hyper aware of every part of the body I mention and all the bits in between. Or if perhaps you've got a lot going on or you're just feeling a bit fuzzy, you might drift in and out of the scan, and that's okay. Don't feel like you have to cling on to every word. Before we begin, allow yourself to get heavy. Allow your breath to come naturally to you through the lips or the nose. And let's begin at the feet this evening. So feel your feet, the back of the heels on the ground. Notice if the feet are turned outwards or inwards, or if they're facing straight towards the sky. Feel the space around your ankles. Drift your awareness up towards the calves. If you're lying on your back, see if you can feel the weight of your calves pulling on your shins with gravity, encouraging that. If you're on your belly or in child's pose, feel your calves press against either the air or your thighs. Shift your awareness towards your knees. Feel any little pockets of space at the back of the knee. Notice anywhere that they're pressing into props. Notice if your knees are knocking inwards or knocking outwards. Move up towards your thighs. Feel the weight of your femur bones weighing you down from the knees and from the pelvis. Feel the back of the thighs, the hamstrings, nice and soft and loose, perhaps even heavy. Shift towards your glutes. And if you're lying on the ground, feel your glutes pressing down into the floor. We often hold tension in our glutes, we often squeeze our bum without knowing it. See if you can release that tension. And you can encourage that a little more by inhaling deep into the belly and feeling that belly pressure push back into your lower spine and your glutes. think about the whole pelvis right now. If your knees are knocking outwards, you'll have a little bit of space on the inner groin and the hips will be open up just a touch. If your knees are knocking inwards, it'll all be a bit cozier. Shift up towards your lower back. There's probably quite a wee lift or a wee bit of space even at the lower back, unless your knees are really, really bent. Imagine filling that space with a soft cushion. Bring your attention to your belly. Notice your inhales and exhales moving the belly up and down and out to the sides of the room. Shift up towards your rib cage and notice that same pattern as your inhale expands your ribs outwards and upwards, and your exhale draws everything back inwards. Meditate on this movement for a few breaths. Move up towards your shoulders now. Notice if your shoulders are lifted slightly from the ground, pulling inwards to the chest, or if you're feeling soft, heavy, and relaxed, and the shoulders are pressing back into the ground. Follow your awareness down the arms, towards the elbows. Are your elbows bent slightly, or are they straight? Shift further still down towards the wrists. As with the ankles, notice all the space that you have around your wrists. And then bring your attention towards the palms. Are your palms open, closed? Are they facing up or down? And try and create a little bit of breathing room between each finger here. A wee bit of space between the knuckles. Slide your awareness all the way up the arms to the base of the neck. As with your lumbar spine, notice that lift at the back of the neck, that wee curve, like a wee bridge from your shoulders to your head. Swallow a couple of times to free up space in your throat. Move now towards your jaw. Give your jaw just a wee wiggle, soften, release muscle tension. Drift in towards the mouth, parting the lips slightly. Let your tongue rest at the base of your mouth, just snuggled behind your lower teeth. Soften all the other muscles in your face, particularly those around your eyes. Imagine smoothing out any creases at the corners of the eyes, smoothing out bags underneath the eyes, smoothing out that little furrowed line between the eyebrows. And now shift your attention all the way up towards the very tip of the head. Imagine that you've got a wee blowhole here. And every time you exhale, you're releasing any ick from your day through that wee hole at the top of the head. If you want, you can attribute a color to this exhale. Continue breathing like this, inhaling loveliness, exhaling the ick for a few more breaths. Okay, from here, draw your knees into your chest and give yourself a wee cuddle. Maybe rock on the spine, creating wee circles with your knees to massage your back. And then from here, hold on to the back of your legs and snuggle your hands in the space behind your knees. Taking a very lazy, happy baby. Allow your knees to come out wide. If you want, you can thread your hands to the outside edges of your feet, or you can stay here, grasping onto the back of the legs. Check in on your jaw. Your pelvis and your jaw are very intimately connected. And if you're holding tension in the jaw, if you're grinding your teeth or sticking your tongue between your two front teeth, you're going to notice a little bit of tension in the pelvis as well. So try and release any of that now. A wee wiggle or a yawn in the jaw is going to encourage softening in the pelvis. Try to encourage your head and shoulders to the ground if they're lifted. Allow your knees to come as wide as feels comfortable. And use that space between your legs to let your diaphragm expand as much as it can. We want to try and encourage belly breathing throughout class this evening. Our diaphragm is our primary breathing muscle. But so often we use our secondary breathing muscle, the intercostal muscles, the little muscles between each rib cage. Those are our kind of default because we tend to breathe a little more shallow. And you'll notice now, if you shift your breath towards your chest instead of your belly, it doesn't feel quite as nourishing. These little intercostal muscles between the rib cages allow us to breathe nice and quickly. So if we're running, for example, or if we're overexcited or nervous about something, our breathing tends to shift into the chest to allow us kind of speedier, quicker breath. But if we always breathe like that in our day-to-day, then our mind is going to think we are in a semi-excitable or panic state. So we can trick our body to think we're always in the chill zone by breathing deep into the belly as often as we can. You can think of your diaphragm as like a whale, slow and heavy, really powerful. Intercostal muscles are more like wee fish. Just take another couple of breaths like this. Enjoy that kind of fatiguing sensation in the hips and the legs if you're still holding on to happy baby. And release the shape and pull your knees in together and hug onto the front of the shins and return to that rocking that we started with. From here, keep a hold of your legs. Take the right hand to the outside of the left leg and pull your legs over to the right hand side. Coming into a nice wee twist. Turn your gaze to the left and extend your left hand out to the left. Allow your right hand to rest on top of the outside of the left thigh, so you're hugging yourself in still. This is quite a tight version of this twist. If that feels like too much pressure on the belly, or if the stretch is too intense up the spine, then push your knees away from you. So it's a looser shape, and so that the twist lowers down towards the lumbar. If you want to experience slightly stronger pull on that left outer hip and slightly longer sensation in the left leg, you can extend your left leg out to the right hand side. Still keeping that right knee bent, but the left leg is extended. Now, belly breathing is really hard in a closed twist like this because we've compromised the space situation. Still possible though. Try to send your breath deep down into your belly and notice how your leg, or both legs maybe, lift just a touch as you inhale. You'll certainly notice it in the left hip. Tonight's class is one for drifting in and out of sleep. So if we lose you to slumber at any point, don't worry about it. Let's take another 4 breaths here. Okay. Pull your knees back into your chest. And then take the same shape over to the left. So hug onto the knees, allow your left hand to reach to the outside of the right knee. Draw both legs over to the left hand side. Keep your left hand on your right leg. Turn your gaze to the right hand side and extend your right leg out. Right hand out to the right hand side. Remember, you can soften the shape of touch by pushing your knees down, or you can keep them hugged in. If you fancy extending your right leg here, you can. Keep thinking about drawing the breath down into the belly. You're going to enjoy another 10 breaths here. If you find that you are growing super tired or maybe even a little bored, try and count these breaths. Remember, boredom is something that we want to seek in yin. We want to see how we react with it or to it. Being still is the biggest challenge. Okay. Slowly unwind yourself from the shape. Come back through center. Take your feet to the floor. If your bolster is still there, you can take your feet to the bolster, or you can just shove the bolster away. Extend your arms out wide and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Roll over to the right hand side. Come all the way over to lie on your right arm, using it as a wee pillow. Rest your left hand underneath your heart space. We'll soon make our way to a seat, but I don't want you to get head rush. So just so you take your time. When you're ready, use your left hand to push you up to a wee seat. Nice. Okay. From here, you're gonna face your bolster. Let's have the bolster or pillows horizontal across your mat. And then take your right foot to the inside of your left thigh. Take your left foot back behind you. It looks like this from the other side. Top of the left foot is on the floor. From here, start to lean forward, taking your hands down onto your pillow or your bolster. And this might just be a subtle hinging at the hips. You might not come too low. I would definitely just check in on your left hip here. If it's feeling a little gross, extend the left leg out at a diagonal like this. After quite a long twist like that, it might feel a bit vulnerable, or it might feel great. And then continue to hinge at the hips, coming lower and lower, maybe even coming to forearms. If your bolster is quite high up, you might be able to take your elbows to it and rest your head in your hands. Or if you're feeling very flexible this evening and nice and open in the hips, you might be able to come to rest your head down on the bolster or on folded hands. If your left leg is extended, if your left leg is extended forward, you'll find that you're a little higher up than this. This is folded deer pose. It's a beautiful shape, really nourishing for the whole of the pelvis. Feeds up to the lower spine as well, and of course the legs. The shape can be quite overwhelming sometimes because there's so many aspects to it. Your left leg is flexing at the hips, but it's also suggesting an internal rotation. Your left knee is flexed. Your right hip is also flexed somewhat, but it's externally rotated. So there's a lot going on here. Both of your legs are moving away from the midline too, so we've got that openness in the pelvis. In big hippie shapes like this, sometimes we can feel a little emotional. Sometimes we hold a lot of tension in the hips, just as we do with our jaw. As I was saying earlier, that connection between jaw and pelvis. When you're stressed, you'll notice maybe you grind your teeth or your jaw gets pretty rigid. Because there's that connection between the jaw and the pelvis, your pelvis responds in the same way. And you've got the option to stay here, leaning or hugging into the bolster with both of your knees bent. Or if you fancy, you can turn this into quite a lazy pigeon shape by gently rolling to the right hip and then extending your left leg back behind you, bringing the top of the left foot towards the ground. It's pretty loud in the hips here, so if it's too much, you can reverse. If you feel like you're too high up, you can get rid of the bolster, come to lie down on your belly. Okay, let's make our way into a wee rebound pose. I would suggest either lying on your belly or coming into child's pose. Because we've had our knees flexed for quite a while, child's pose might feel a bit too much, so do what feels good in the legs. Gently make your way back into a seat. Take your time. Take your hands back behind you. Take your feet to the floor and wave your knees from side to side. Then land with your left knee bent out to the left foot to the inside of the right thigh, right foot back behind you. Same again. Bring your bolster a little closer if you've moved it away. Take your hands to your prop and then slowly start to make your way down, hinging at your hips. Again, the right leg this time can be extended forward if that feels better in the knee, or if you're happy with it there, keep it there. Continue lowering down into the shape every time you find a little bit of space. Try and explore that. Lean into it. And again, if you want to, you can lower all the way down and turn this into pigeon by extending the right leg back behind you. Just make sure you've got the top of the right foot on the floor and we're not leaning to the inside of the right foot. If anything, we want to encourage sort of an internal rotation in that right hip. But a neutral stance is best with the right leg. Okay. Come to lie down on your belly. If that's comfortable for you, if that doesn't feel good, you can come into child's pose, but I'd preferably like you to give your left knee a wee rest now. So belly, if that's okay. Maybe even a super lazy downward dog if you need to stretch out the back of the legs. And from here, make your way onto your back. So just roll over. Don't worry about facing the wrong way if you are facing the camera. From here, walk your legs over to the left-hand side of your mat and then maybe cross the right leg over the left. So you've got a wee crisscross. Now, try not to let your right hip lift up here. So you're rolling onto the left. Try and keep the back of the pelvis grounded. So it might mean that your bend is a little softer than you initially planned. And then mirror this shape with your arms, reaching the arms up and back behind you. Then walk your head and your shoulders and your arms over to the left-hand side. So we're coming into banana asana. Nice long lateral stretch to find space in the sides of the body to stretch out those points that we never manage to reach. If you find that your right hip is struggling to stay down, or your right shoulder for that matter, grab your bolster or cushion or any wee props that you want to anchor down the right hip or shoulder. Think of your breath like an accordion right now. So your inhale, or think of your body as an accordion even. So the left side of the body is all closed off and the right side of the body is all opened up in a kind of fanning motion. And your inhale reaches down the right side and your exhale trickles back up the left. Let's take the same shape over to the right hand side. So briefly bring yourself back through center and then start to arc your legs over to the right, crossing one leg over the other. Do the same with your head and your shoulders and your arms. And again, try to keep that left hip as grounded as you can. You might need to kind of shimmy around with the sit bones. Think of your inhale this time leading up the left-hand side of the body and down the right-hand side of the body as you exhale. Okay, let's bring ourselves back through center. Take your feet to the ground. Take your feet nice and wide on your mat and knock your knees into the middle. And you can copy this shape with your arms, wrapping your arms around yourself, giving yourself a hug. Constructive rest. Let the sides of your body even out. Let your back be supported by the ground. And allow your legs to be completely effortless here. So if you feel like you're holding them together, maybe take your feet a little further away from the bum and a little wider. We're gonna finish class with some pranayama. If you're feeling cold, make sure you've got some blankets and duvets and jumpers and whatnot ready. You might also want to reach behind you and grab onto your bolster or your pillows and take them underneath your knees. Allow this be the last little bit of movement that you do for the next 10 minutes or so. So get rid of any little wiggles that you need to. And then settle again. Let your hands rest by the sides of the body, palms facing upwards. Let your feet flop out to opposite sides of the room. Find that still heaviness that we found at the beginning in our body scan. We're going to practice golden thread breath this evening. For golden threads, we'll inhale through the nose and allow our breath to escape through the lips. So it's not a forced exhale, it's just a releasing of the breath. And every time you exhale, I want you to think that you're exhaling a golden thread of breath. So this long, continuous, silky smooth texture. So when you're ready, begin to inhale through your nose. Release through the lips. Continue like this, in through the nose and released through the lips. You can continue to breathe this way throughout Shavasana, or you can allow your breath to settle to something even more effortless. Soften all the muscles in your face. Relax your jaw. And rest for the next few while. You can stay where you are if you want to, in your resting position. Or if you'd like to come back into the room, you can breathe a bit energy to your fingers and your toes. If you want to sit up, you can. If you want to stay lying down, please do. Keeping your eyes closed, bring one hand to your belly and one hand to your heart space. Breathe into your hands. See this as a wee reminder that you're here, you're present. And a wee gesture of gratitude towards yourself for making the effort to practice. Let's finish with one long sigh together. Breathe in through your nose and exhale. Thank you so much, everyone. Lots of love, and I'll see you all soon. Please stay where you are, take some time to digest.